we have a new word. I mean, it's new and it's old. It goes way back in the English language, but it's new to us in the same way that people didn't used to talk about risk a lot until the late 60s and the early 70s. The word that's on our mind is resilience. And here's what I'm challenging you to do. Same thing. This tool in our technology of language, what are the things that we think about in the noun sense? And this is the real challenge. What are the things that we think about in the verb sense? So when we use the word resilience, we most often, just like risk, we most often use it in this noun sense. As a matter of fact, it's really hard to think about it in the verb sense. It's not impossible. We can say something like to adapt, to recover, to prepare. Do these words, which I really like, I think all of these are associated with resilience. Do redundancy, strength, fortification, durability, do they relate to adaptation, recovery, preparation? Because the match isn't so good. If we were going to say adapt, over here what happens with the noun form is we say, well, adaptive capacity. We got to kind of massage our nouns to make resilience fit over here into the noun category. And it's a lot easier to do with risk than it is with resilience. And I'm not saying these are wrong. What I'm trying to do is now we're going to be observant. We're going to be conscious of the way that resilience shows up in the English language. We don't have this verb form, although Dan discovered it and it's a bit archaic. We don't go around talking about, well, I resiled the crap out of that thing. You should have seen me. I mean, it doesn't make sense because people would just be scratching their head going, would you like cream in your coffee? It's so far out of our ordinary use of language that it's not part of the technology that we've mastered. When we start thinking about resilience as a verb, instead of all of these nouns, which by the way, risk is really good for, when we start thinking that resilience is the things that we do and not the stuff that we have, now we change the way we can express our thoughts and we change the way we think about our perceptions, which is just going right back to the very first figure that I wrote for you. Language is a technology. We're creating a new tool in this technology, a new technique for both expressing yourself and for organizing your perceptions into thoughts. It is going to change your brain to think about resilience as a verb. And nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, but a lot of the people that you interact with are not going to get it. They're going to say, oh, we're resilient because we have a backup diesel generator. The generator is not resilient. What resilience is turning the generator on. See the difference? The generator is not resilience. Having a way of deciding to activate the generator. The resilience is always going to be in action. Sometimes resilience is being plugged into the grid. Sometimes resilience is running off the generator. Sometimes resilience is cutting everything and going off batteries. Sometimes resilience is operating with no power anywhere. But resilience is always going to be in action. When you start thinking of resilience as predominantly a verb, it changes the way your thoughts work. Sometimes people say, oh, we need these things to be resilient. It's not technically incorrect, not necessarily, but you can have a whole bunch of things, and if you have no capacity to reallocate your resources, to adapt to your environment, to change the way you've deployed your things, you are not resilient, because resilience is in the verb between the subject and the object. Because of language, a lot of us are going to be like, I want to be resilient. I need more objects. I'm going to get more objects, more objects, more objects, more objects. I will be the subject. I'm the first person, and I will objectify my world. But if I have no verbs, I have no adaptive capacity. How do we get better at the nouns? You fill out a requisition, you go down to the noun store, you get your credit card out, you say, I'd like some nouns. Which nouns would you like? These nouns. How many of them? This is what it costs, and you are up to your eyeballs in objects. You can't just like read a book and be like, oh, I got it. Let me take the controls. You need so many thousands of hours before they let you move to the next level of complexity and the next level of complexity, because the only way to get better at flying is to fly. The only way to get better at resiliencing is to resile. Does this make sense? You cannot say, I bought a bunch of objects and now I bought a better plane and I'm a better pilot. You got to learn how to fly the plane. You can't say, I bought a backup generator and so now I'm resilient, because you don't know until you practice. This is the critical realization of this first module. If, and it is, resilience is a verb. You cannot improve your resilience unless you practice resiliencing. Now you see how I'm making up words because I want new technology? I call that innovation.